So there was a remarkable tweet right in the middle of the debate last night that might give you a sense of some of the Republican anxiety right now. Jeff Rowe, who ran the presidential campaign of Ted Cruz, wrote to Donald Trump, "Hold it together, man. It's all on the line, not just you, all of us."
Let's discuss this and much more right now. Tim Miller is here. He's a former communications director for Jeb Bush's presidential campaign, and Harlan Hill, a Donald Trump surrogate, former Bernie Sanders supporter. Guys, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
How's it going?
So, Tim Miller, Jeff Rowe, saying basically, help us help you. Maybe that's what he was saying. Help me help you. What is the impact of last night in totality, do you think, of Donald Trump's performance, what Donald Trump said last night, in the last 3 weeks on down-ballot races?
Yeah, I can't get inside Jeff's head. Good man. Probably worried about down-ballot races, though, because the reality is, before the debate even started last night, the campaign was over. Donald Trump does not have a mathematical path to 270 electoral votes. So what last night mattered was whether he could maintain any dignity left in defeat. He cannot, we learned. And whether he can keep this race close enough to allow us to maintain the House and the Senate. I think there's a lot of deep concerns about that.
No dignity left, Harlan.
You know, there's still 20-something days until the election. You know, when we went into Brexit in the UK, the Remain camp thought that they had it in the bag. They had a 10-point lead in the polls.
No.
And it turned out that they actually
the polls
didn't.
were split. The polls were split.
No,
the
look,
polls were
after
split
the
going into
assassination,
that.
after the assassination of the member of parliament, it was clear. So everybody that was commenting on it, I remember sitting on the sets of different TV shows, and everybody thought that it was a shoe-in for Remain,
The Brexit
and it
polls,
wasn't.
The betting markets, which is different than the polls, the betting markets thought that Brexit would lose, that Remain would win. However, the polls were split evenly going into the debate. It's just a fact.
Hey, you know, this is worth fact-checking because I remember looking at the aggregate of polls, and it was clear that the Remain camp...
Who cares? Who cares what the Brexit was? Donald
it
Trump's getting
illustrates
crushed.
the point that the polling may not be accurate because it assumes different modeling that may not pan out.
Well, Jeff Rowe actually looked. Jeff Rowe's a smart guy. Ted Cruz, they had great data. Jeff Rowe actually looks at the data. I look at the data. He knows that Donald Trump's in deep, deep trouble. And so that's what the reality is.
What Harlan's saying, I have heard very often, is they believe that one theory is the models are wrong in polling, and another theory is people aren't telling pollsters the answer that they are going to give when they walk into a polling booth.
Anytime Donald Trump or Donald Trump surrogates, things aren't going their way, they immediately go to conspiracy theories. The polls are rigged against us. The voting machines are rigged. The president's not really an American.
There is an element of boy who cried wolf here.
We'll know in 3 weeks.
It's not rigging.
Honestly,
it's not rigging to suggest that perhaps the polling is inaccurate. We saw that there were points in even the primary race where the polling was inaccurate.
But Harlan, you do acknowledge
conspiracy.
that Trump loves the polls when he's up, and he quotes the polls when he's up. He even sends around a CNN poll when he's up in it, and then trashes it when he's down.
I totally understand your point, but I don't think it's a conspiracy. I don't think that there is a concerted effort to manipulate the polls to suppress the vote for Donald Trump. If anything, I think him being behind in the polls actually works to his advantage, because I think that a lot of Hillary Clinton voters are going to look at the polls and say, "Oh, she's a shoo-in," and may not turn out on election day. There needs to be a sense of urgency for get out the vote. It's a double-edged sword for Hillary Clinton. She wants her voters to think that she still is in a competitive race.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the substance of what happened last night. You had Donald Trump talking about Vladimir Putin again. The issue of Vladimir Putin came up. The issue of Bashar al-Assad came up also in Syria. And Donald Trump doesn't really condemn them and their actions on the international stage. Is that something you would like to see him do more of, Harlan?
Well, look, no, he was condemning, or he has condemned Putin in the past. And I think it's important to say that we have been provided no evidence to substantiate the claim that Russia has participated in the hacks of the DNC and John Podesta's emails. Now, the federal government says, and Hillary Clinton last night said that 17 agencies said that this happened. I want to see the evidence, because as we saw with the invasion of Iraq, there have been multiple occasions in which the U.S. federal government has made claims about foreign powers that have not been substantiated, and it led to conflict.
Harlan can live in an alternative universe. Where I want to live is what Donald Trump actually said last night. What Donald Trump said last night was that Bashar al-Assad is smart and tough, and that we can work with Russia and Bashar al-Assad. And when pressed about the fact that his vice presidential candidate said that we would go after Assad, he corrected them in the second debate and said no. Bashar al-Assad is committing the worst genocide of the century. 500,000 are dead. We've done nothing. And Donald Trump says, I want to work with this guy. And then, when asked about dealing with our allies, like Germany and South Korea, he's like, yeah, they might be on their own. They should look at building up their own militaries. Hold on, Harlan. This is un-American. And when his campaign manager goes on this morning, when Harlan defends WikiLeaks, this is what happens in Russia, where your political opponents lose all right to privacy. You can invade their personal correspondence. You can embarrass them. You can jail them. That is not what we do in this country.
This is happening to Donald Trump as well. How about with his tax returns? Those were illegally leaked by the New York Times. It is the exact same thing.
This is completely different than a foreign government looking at private individuals.
There is zero evidence that has been provided by the federal government to substantiate that claim. They have made the claim. I have seen zero evidence to substantiate that.
All of common sense brings evidence. Why? Who
It
else
could
would
be
be
the
doing
Chinese.
This? Julian Assange has been a Russian puppet. Julian Assange has been a Russian puppet for years now. The intelligence agency says
there are
Russia.
literally dozens
You can pretend
of
it's not
actors.
Russia.
But
Even
wait.
if it wasn't, then why does Donald Trump suck up to Vladimir Putin? Why
He's
does he
not
say
sucking up to
Why
him.
does he say we can work with Putin and Assad, but I'm not going to help Germany and South Korea? Why does he say it's okay
do you
to
wanna
go
know
through the
why Hillary
private
Clinton
emails
keeps
of private
pointing-
people? This is un-American. The
Hillary
campaign
Clinton,
they're running is un-American.
Hold on,
It's
go ahead.
wrong.
I'm frankly shocked by the fact that you're a Republican and you are defending Hillary Clinton
You
at
were
this
for
point.
Bernie
And
Sanders
hold on,
like 2
let
minutes
me
ago.
finish.
Don't
Let
lecture me
finish.
on being a
Look,
Republican.
here's the thing. The reason
He's a
Hillary
socialist.
The reason Hillary Clinton is pointing to Putin is because she is trying to otherize him in this race, and this is her own way of planting the seeds of doubt in the event that she were to lose or that it's a competitive race, that she would contest the validity of the election. That's what this is about.
Wait, you
And they have
think
been doing-
this is Hillary Clinton trying to plant seeds in order to contest the election?
This is cuckoo for Cocoa
Absolutely.
Puffs,
Absolutely.
what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
This is the first time I think any of us
There have
have
been
heard
whispers about it for quite some time, and frankly, it's
People
all
who are
conjecture at this
intelligence
point.
experts know that it's the Russians. Harlan and all the other
Give me
random
evidence.
Trump
All right, guys, what we're going to do is this. How about this? How about this? How about this? How about this? Will you guys stick around? Will you guys stick around and talk a little bit more after break? We have a minute or two. If you guys will humor us, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.